Okay, good morning everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today. We started this section and we started talking about the 7 different reasons as to why the Torah does not mention reward or punishment in Olam Haba. We discussed the first one is because we can't conceive what a soul feels, and so we wouldn't be able to understand what the reward or the punishment would be in Olam Haba. So that's the first reason. The second reason is because reward was accepted by common folk as a belief and a tradition, and it was given on from generation to generation. We spoke about by Avram Avinu. We saw by Avram Avinu, why did Hashem love him? It says, I love him. It says in the Torah. Why? Because Avram Avinu always preached the Rebbeinu Shalom and to be a good person to his kids. And Hashem loved the fact that all he did was just to preach it to his children. And even when Avram Avinu was let himself be thrown into a fiery furnace by Nimrod, and he put his son up for the Akedah, and all this time he knew that the Kal Yisrael is going to come out of him, he still had faith in Hashem. And he realized that even if he died, that his life will still go on in Olam Haba, so he understood the concept. The third reason we spoke about was because of our small-mindedness. The small-mindedness we understood when the Yidden left Egypt, we left Mitzrayim, we were out of slavery. We couldn't understand any kind of reward system. All we wanted was something immediate, right? Everybody, they wanted the man, they wanted water, they wanted something immediate. And so our small-mindedness can't comprehend a reward system in Olam Haba. We need something like we spoke about by a child. We give a child a gift or a prize or a treat or some time to relax, go on a trip or something like that. Why? As a reward system for the good things that they do. Because they're too young to understand the concept of a reward system strictly for Hashem, strictly for Olam Haba. The fourth reason that we spoke about yesterday was because that when we do mitzvos, we're not merited reward. Why? We spoke about it, that a mitzvah is really appreciation that we show Hashem. We're saying thank you to Hashem. Any extra reward that we're given is kindness that Hashem is showing you. And then we spoke about that for instance, Bris Milah. Bris Milah is a mitzvah that we do, but we don't get a reward for doing Bris Milah. Bris Milah we only do once Hashem gives us a gift of life. We do Bris Milah. We give mitzvahs tzitzis is because Hashem gave us the gift of clothing. We do mitzvahs mezizahs because Hashem gave us a gift of a home to live in. We do mitzvahs of giving maises because Hashem gave us parnasa. And so on. We see that all the mitzvahs that we do is because Hashem first gave us. And so we're just catching up. We're at the very best, what we could do is break even, at the very best. And so we see anything extra that Hashem gives us is just a kindness. And the Torah doesn't talk about reward in Olam Haba because the reward in Olam Haba is not a reward. It's if anything, it's just a kindness from Hashem. Today we're going to talk about the fifth reason. And before we get into the fifth reason, I want to say that today's share is L'Ilu Nishmas Menachem Be'Yisrael, Yaakov, L'Refu Shalem Meshalem David Ben Sarah L'Refu Shalem Rechama Rivka Bas Rachel, L'Refu Shalem Miriam Bas Sarah, and as well as L'Refu Shalem Eliezer Noach Ben Esther Malka. Now, the fifth reason why the Torah does not describe reward and punishment in the world to come is as follows. And he starts off, and he just makes an introduction to this, so you need a little understanding. Ki ha'maisa ha'toiv mischalek l'shnei chalakim. That good deeds can be divided into 2 categories. Rav Av first he focuses on the good deeds and the reward, and soon he's going to flip on to see how that plays out with punishment for averos. And so there's two parts to it. One is for deeds, for mitzvahs that we do that are hidden. We spoke about a couple of weeks ago that a hidden mitzvah, a personal mitzvah that might be hidden is belief in Hashem, fearing Hashem, love for Hashem. Those are mitzvahs that are hidden. I can't see you loving, fearing, and caring about Hashem because it's not a physical act or even an audible thing. It's something in your mind. And this includes all the mitzvahs that we spoke about. We spoke about also a few weeks ago when we went into talking about the interpersonal and the personal mitzvahs. It talks about it over there some more. But there are also some good deeds that are performed with visible. That you're doing, like you're performing a mitzvah that actually has to be physically done, like lasas archem or tzedakah or learning Torah. It's a physical act that you have to do. Now Hashem rewards the good deeds that's performed through visible actions of the limbs, meaning a physical act, bigmol nira ba'olam hazeh, with reward that's visible in this world. V'goymel alamasa hatzafen bigmol nistar, whereas the rewards that we get for something that is hidden, in the love and the fearing for Hashem and anything else that is hidden, that we get reward in olam haba. And he says, moreover, even the visible mitzvahs even have two parts. A visible mitzvah, we spoke about this actually last week. We spoke that every action of a person has three parts to it. You have the part that you, let's say a mitzvah, the part that you want to do the mitzvah, the planning of the mitzvah, and the act of doing the mitzvah. Same thing with an avera. But he says that over here, even though it's a physical act that you're doing a mitzvah, you still get extra reward for the mindful, but the part that's hidden. That's the part that you decided and you planned on doing the mitzvah. Because we spoke about also last week that you get schar for doing a mitzvah even if you don't fulfill the mitzvah, because you set out to go and do it. And even if you fail because Hashem doesn't want you to do this mitzvah this time, or Hashem doesn't feel that the person receiving the recipient of that mitzvah is deserving of it at this moment, or it's deserving of it from you, then that also is you also get reward machshava kamais over there. Why? Because the machshava portion is also rewardable. And over here you see that the rewardable part of the machshava is an olam haba. Va'kein zechari David alav. And we see by David HaMelech, he writes in Tehillim, he writes these words. He says, as he stated, how abundant is your goodness that you have hidden away from those who fear you. And what does that mean, who fear you? We just said it. Fear is something that's hidden. We fear Hashem. And David HaMelech says, how abundant is your goodness? He only means that you reward in Olam Haba. The reward in Olam Haba comes out of the fear, out of the mitzvahs that we do that you cannot see. Those are the mitzvahs that we get rewarded on Olam Haba. The Gemara points out, and he says over the pasuk also in Tehillim, it says that Hashem's kindness is until the heavens. And then it says in another pasuk in Tehillim, it says Hashem's kindness is above the heavens. Make up your mind, which one is it? So the Gemara states that like this. There's two parts. You have the parts that belong on Olam Hazeh, the parts that you will get rewarded on Olam Hazeh. Those are for the mitzvahs that everybody could see. That's the parts you get rewarded on Olam Hazeh, and that's until the heavens, the Hashem's kindness comes up to. But reward on Olam Haba, that is referring to the part where he says, above the heavens. And that's how we see the difference between Olam Haba and Olam Hazeh. I saw a great story, again, in this beautiful book I picked up, A Life of Bitachon. You guys should read it, it's really great. Reb Shlomo, he sold arak. And he had a business, and one day, the Baal Shem Tov came to town. The Baal Shem Tov came to town to collect money. And Reb Shlomo was so excited to Baal Shem Tov, and he asked him to stay by his home with his wife and his children. And he did. And after a week, the Baal Shem Tov was ready to leave. And he was getting up to leave, and the Shlomo tells the Baal Shem Tov, he says, please stay another week, stay another day. The Baal Shem Tov says, look, I have to go and make money. He says, you know what? I will give you $100 if you stay for the night. That's about what you're about to make today. I'll give it to you. And so Baal Shem Tov agreed to stay. The next morning, the Baal Shem Tov got up again to leave. And the Reb Shlomo pleaded with him, please, Baal Shem Tov, stay. I want you in my home. There's so much love. There's so much energy in my home. I want you to stay here. He says, I can't. He says, I have to go and collect money. And again, he promised him gave him $100. He said, here, stay for the day. Sleep over again. And this happened a couple more nights. And on the last day, the Baal Shem Tov got up to leave. And Reb Shlomo didn't have any more money. Reb Shlomo had a semi-precious stone that every once in a while, when he ran low on funds, he went and pawned it off. And later on, he made back some money, he brought back this stone. He had this stone in his possession for many, many years. And he told the Baal Shem Tov, I don't have many money, but I have this stone, I'm going to go and pawn it off and get some more money. And the Baal Shem Tov agreed. And so he pawned it off and he got a few $100s out of it, and the Baal Shem Tov was able to stay for 3 more nights. And on the 4th day after that, the Baal Shem Tov got up to leave, and Reb Shlomo pleaded with him, and he said, no, I'm sorry, I can't stay, I need to go out and make money. Reb Shlomo was done. He had no money left. The Baal Shem Tov left, and his wife said, what did we do? We don't have any money left. You don't even have the stone to pawn off to be able to get some money. And Reb Shlomo told his wife, we have to have bitachon in Hashem. Many years later, the Baal Shem Tov came back to this town to collect money. And the Baal Shem Tov asked the people, where's Reb Shlomo? I want to go visit him. And they pointed him to the rich part of town, where all the wealthy people and the biggest mansions are. The Baal Shem Tov traveled to that part of town. He got there, he rang the bell, and these doormen came, and they opened it up. And Mesharson came in and greeted him. They brought him into a waiting room, and after a few minutes, the Reb Shlomo came out, and he greeted the Baal Shem Tov, and he said, the Baal Shem Tov, I'm so happy you're here. He says, but he said to Baal Shem Tov, I don't understand something. Yes, it's years later, I became an extremely, extremely wealthy man. I need to understand something though, Baal Shem Tov. Why did you only stay for the money and you couldn't stay a little bit for me? Why did you wait till after I sold my most prized possession, my precious stone, that I couldn't even get back? I couldn't even get it out of pawn afterwards. Baal Shem Tov told him very, very simply. He said, you lacked bitachon in Hashem. Your bitachon laid in the precious stone that you had, that you always fell back on. He says, I needed to make sure that you gained full bitachon in Hashem. And in order to do that, the only way I was able to do that is if you sold off that stone. Because I saw in Hashem that you were merited great, great, great reward from Hashem, that you'd be a very, very wealthy man. But you could only have done that if you put your full bitachon in Hashem. And therefore, when you sold off that stone and you came home and your wife sat down with you and said, how are we going to do this? And you said, the only thing we have left is bitachon Hashem. That's where Hashem has you at this point. Now you fully belong to Hashem. There's no more reliance on the stone on the side. We spoke about this a few weeks ago. Hashem wants full bitachon in Him and Him alone only. He doesn't want you to have bitachon in anyone else as well, a backup plan. Don't have the comfort in your savings account that's what's going to help you through life. We spoke about this part, that a true Baal Bitachon has more bitachon in Hashem, that He's going to provide for him for the rest of his life, just like He's provided till now, more than the comfort he has in the millions of dollars that he has put away for his savings, for his sustenance, so that he can retire. That's true bitachon. And that's the lesson we learn, is that bitachon has to be with a shleimus, has to be so full. It has to be full of just 100% Hashem only. Nobody else and nothing else. And that's how we merit in order to be able to get the reward that Hashem gives us at the end of the day. Thank you, every single one of you, for joining us today, and I love you all.